Okay, for those of you students that have been asking about circles and specifically on something like this, and like on the rod guide, this area here, whenever you're working with isocircles in an isometric plane, get a little tricky. So let me just kind of give you some techniques on how to work with those. I'm not going to give you the exact answers. I'm just going to show you some techniques. So I'm going to look at this one at 1 1/8 and a half inch in thickness, 1 1/8 radius. Okay. So I'm going to draw myself a ISO circle. So I'm going to use the ellipse command, and I'm going to switch over to ISO circle, and I'm going to create an ISO circle. It's a radius of 1 1/8. Okay. And then it's a half-inch thickness. So I'm just going to use my copy command. It's the same circle. So I'm just going to copy this guy this way at 5, and in this direction, half an inch. Okay. Now, another thing I could have done, just to let you guys know, it's whenever you're working with isocircles, the trick to it is really working with the center points. So if I were to draw myself a line from the center of this isocircle in this direction, then that gives me another center point that I can draw my other isocircle from that end point. Of course, I'm on the wrong plane. Let me just get to the right one. There we go. And a radius of 1 1/8. So it's really just working with centers, and that's kind of the key to working with isocircles, specifically on an isometric plane. So then these now are half an inch away from each other, and then to connect this part over here, sometimes it depends on where we're at. We need to make sure we have our quadrant object map set up, so then that way we can draw a line from the quadrant points here, and then to go over this way, F5, it goes over to this quadrant point here. So that's how you get that part done for kind of like these edges over here and how they connect with each other. And again, you can kind of see that in several exhibits when you're specifically working with isometric circles. You might even look at something like this. Same thing with this concept over here, of course, in a different isometric plane on that bearing cap, but it's really the same concept. Okay. So then the other one would be on how to draw the lines coming up to the isocircle. Okay, so those, in this case, kind of going back to the bearing cap, kind of like these lines that are tangent to the isocircles, of course, in a different isometric plane. You don't really have a quadrant point there because you can kind of imagine it being down here somewhere. So then what happens is that sometimes you have to draw yourself a line on the isometric plane going this way and this way. It's almost kind of like the center line. And then wherever this one connects to the isometric, that is where you draw this line coming down off of that intersection right here and coming down this way. And that'll give you the effect that we're looking for. And those aren't on the quadrant points. It's only these that are on the quadrant points. So if I needed to connect this one, I would have. But in this case, if this is coming down, that's where I would draw that one. And same thing with this one. I could just draw myself a line from here this way, and then from this intersection straight down. Or if I wanted to, I could draw, since I know the thickness, a line from here this way, half an inch, and then down from there, geometrically speaking, that'll be where we're at. And then it's just a matter of trimming. And then once you trim, I think you'll get the effect of what you need and hopefully answer a lot of the questions I've been getting on working with isocircles. So enjoy your isometric modeling.